Hello everybody, my name is Firo, and today we are going to be talking about what I promised in my last video, and that is discussing this new style that I have been attempting to create for myself. Why am I doing this? Because despite the fact that I have drawn a lot of comic books over the years, I've never really had an art style of my own. Like, I would always create styles for my specific project, but if I was just doing fan art or something like that, I would always end up copying the original piece most of the time. I really like artists who are able to do fan art of a character, but their art styles are so completely different from the character that they love, and when they draw it, it's like in a completely different style, but you can still clearly tell that that character is that character, and that is something I've always been really jealous of. So that's why I am trying to now create a style for myself. The other thing is that on YouTube, people, when they talk about how they develop their style, almost everyone says something like, oh, I just drew a lot and then my art style just kind of happened. And that's great for them, but I've been drawing for a long time and that hasn't happened to me. I want my own style that when I'm not doing my own comics, when I'm not working, I'm not confused about what to draw. I always felt really bad about what I was drawing because it never felt like me. And so now I'm really putting in the effort to try and find my style. So this is my slideshow presentation for me finding my style, and I hope you enjoy it. Before I get into the slideshow, I just want to clarify that by the end of this video, I will not have my completed art style done. Unfortunately, I can't create it all of a sudden. Even my comic art styles take a really long time to set in. Same thing's gonna happen here. This is not a one video thing. I don't know if I'm gonna update after this about how it's going or not. I'm not gonna have my completed art style like ready for you at the end of the video. That's just not gonna happen. But I will tell you what I am doing and how to potentially help yourself get an art style of some kind. Anyways, so let's get started. Hello everybody, this is editor Firo here to tell you that this entire presentation was unscripted and I just spent way too long trying to Frankenstein together a coherent video for y'all. I have a tendency to start and stop sentences forming this linguistic code that I attempted to make sense, but I also understand if you're watching this part and are very confused, so I will show a timestamp on screen and in the video description where you can skip to get to the part where I talk about the 5 steps to creating your own art style. In the presentation I mostly ramble on about all of my favorite artists and give a little more in-depth info about how I went about creating my style, but I'll do another recap at the timestamp so you won't miss much. The only reason I did not deleting this is because I spent weeks making it this far and I can't bring myself to do so. So thank you, back to the video. So the first thing I would do is you write down every single person who has ever inspired you. Make a pretty succinct list of all the people you can think of, and I did it in my mood board video, so I didn't have to go and do that all again. So I just kind of skipped to this part, which is thinking about what goals you have for your art style. These are kind of just some words, and I put them in corners because it made sense in my brain. The storytelling bit is the #1 thing I want to keep no matter what, is that when I'm creating a piece, I want it to tell a story, and this kind of goes into the fact that I do comics, so that's the centerpiece of the whole thing. Here at the points I have realism is a huge thing. I really want to get really good at drawing, not just in anatomy, but backgrounds too. I want to be able to draw things realistically, and I'm not saying portrait realism, but you feel it and you feel it's alive. I feel all this stuff will make sense when I go to the rest of the video. Then I have history affecting costumes and backgrounds. Surrealism, I do cartooning all the time, can't get rid of it, so cartooning monsters is definitely going to be with the surrealism thing. And geometry is huge for backgrounds, we'll get into that later. And then these are kind of some emotions. I want to have things that are comforting, but also horror-esque, unsettling, creepy sort of stuff, because I don't think I've really tried to make something horror and it's been something I've always wanted to do, but I've always been a little bit afraid to draw horror and draw gore and all that stuff, but I've always wanted to. So that is something I really want to infuse into this style. So the next part, we go down here and we have the actual mood board where you get all of your images together and you create this board of things, you know, your photo mood board thing, whatever. I have to make something very clear when you're doing this. Take that list that you had at the very beginning, go through every single person, and you're not going to put every single person on this list. And why is because you don't want to emulate every single artist that you love, because that would be way too much. You can be a very hyper realistic artist alongside being an extreme cartoonist, but they're probably not both going to feel good in your system. When you are picking the artists and the illustrations to put on this board, you're thinking about how it would feel to draw like those people. And I'll give you a very specific example, and that is Teo Matsumoto, who wrote Tekon Kinkreet, or Black and White. It's this very cartoony, very surrealist art style. I'm obsessed with this book. I'm obsessed with all of his work. And when I was doing this, I really considered putting him somewhere on the mood board, but I realized I don't actually want to draw like him, which was a crazy revelation I had, because I have been trying to draw like him for so long and it's been not working. And every time I do something like him, I never like it, and it's never felt right in my soul when I've been redrawing his work or just like trying to take inspiration from him. That's kind of what I'm saying with all this. These are people that, like, if I could have their art style today, I would be happy. So I've got Shinichi Sakamoto, who does, I don't know if it's hashtag DRCL Midnight Children or something like that. I haven't read the book yet, but I follow him on Instagram religiously, and he does this like very hyper realistic vampire thing, and I love it. Tsukumi Oba, who does Death Note. Death Note was my first manga, and this is my thing. I love this. Katsumi Anami, who does the Bakuno illustrations on the inside of the books. I really like their style, and I have used this image so frequently for like references of like wrinkles and things like that in this guy's face. Kyu Hayashida, who does Dorohedoro, and I really love this character right here, which I'm blanking on the name, but I love them, I love her, and I just love how detailed it is. It's so insane. I have a bunch of other stuff here, and like I could go on all day. Cynics is here too. Not every single one of these is like how I want to draw, but there's an element from each of these that I really want to put into my work. And one thing that I made a note of down here is all body types. With a lot of these people, they don't really show all body types, and that's something that I really want to do. I don't think anyone's style limits them from drawing all forms of bodies. A lot of, especially like manga styles, don't really go into the larger body types, and that's something I want to be able to do. I want something kind of realistic, but can also be very surrealist while still being believable, while still being energetic, and can be all body types. Let's go on. Monsters. This is huge because I want to do more like creature design, anthropomorphic stuff as well. I didn't actually put that much except for this one wolf thingy down here. Maybe this fish, I don't know. Mostly focusing on like the horror and the creepy stuff because like that's kind of just my focus right now. I really like these puppetry sort of things. I did a comic about puppets and I need to redo it and make it so much better. Masa Cannibalist again with the gore. Yeah, I just kind of like unsettling stuff in these images here. Going into backgrounds, this is very specific. I have a very specific vision for what I want to do with backgrounds. Yunling is a huge inspiration for this. I love their paintings because when you look at it with a squint, it looks like a photo, and then you look a little closer and you're like, oh my god, that's a painting. And I love that effect, and that effect is achieved by lighting. This one too is like kind of in the similar vein, like it's definitely cartoony. This is also very cartoony, and both of these, like, they have very realistic feeling to it because of the lighting, and that's what I want to focus on. I want to be a master of digital painting, specifically lighting. This image in particular is everything to me. I have no idea who drew it. I have no idea, and if somebody actually knows, please let me know in the comments, because I can't find who drew this image, who painted it. Like, if I could have one image to represent what I want my art style to be, it would be this painting right here, and it's from the album art for Chainsaw Man. I don't even care that much about the show, but this image nearly brought me to tears when I saw it. I don't know why. There was just something about it that was so intense and amazing, and I love this specific thing so much. You have no idea. This is the part where I talk about storytelling, bringing Jordi Lefebvre again. He wrote this book. Every single panel is a story. There's so much in this. Emily Amio is the same thing, same deal. Love her art. And at some point in life, I really wanted her art style. And then I realized I just couldn't do it. Like, it just was not my thing. Through this, I have really realized, like, there are some things I just cannot do, and that's fine. With creating your art style, it's like you're really defining what you can and cannot do. And some things you can't do, and that doesn't mean you're a failure, it just means you can't do it. This does not apply, however, to the conversation we had before about body types. You're just being lazy if you can't draw a body type. Some, like, themes, creepy, empty, surrealism, endearing. This is the endearing side of things. I really like how cute this whole thing is, and that's nice. But I also like creepy stuff too, so I want to get more into that. This is something I drew and I really like it. I just want you to look at the image and be like, what is happening? Please tell me more. Now we're getting into inking. Monkey Punch is the like holy god that I have been praying to since I discovered the Lupin the Third manga. This is the Bible for me. Monkey Punch's inking style is what I want now, immediately. Yuki Urashibara is the author of Mushishi. They're very different. I think like a mix of the two is like exactly what I want. Painting, I put the Coal Cinder in here because I had to. I draw pointy noses because of this person. I want my paintings to be a little bit more focused on the background than theirs is, but someone I will be looking at, Mossa Cannibalist, because like, I mean, look at it, it's amazing. This is one I did, and I always think back to this. I think it's because of the gray tones. I've never painted like this, but I did it that one day and I was like, huh, that's weird. I like it. And then I never did it again. And then these are the same. Yinling and Simon Stellenhag. What I love about his paintings is that he has these like very like dreamy backgrounds, but then he has these strong accent colors. Then at the very end, I put together all of the pieces of art that I've already drawn that I think kind of match the aesthetic that I'm going for. A lot of this art is not recent, and I really like them because we've got the geometrical backgrounds. These were all studies. Oh, I didn't say it back here. Heavy Paint. Heavy Paint is a program that I really want to get good at. I really like these 3 character designs that I did. They're very different body types, and to the best of my ability, believable. Our creature design. This painting I've always loved. I think I just really like the color. There's little elements of everything in here that I want in my art style. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, here's where I transition to the drawing part. Woohoo! Because all you've heard me talk about at this point is my favorite artists and what I want for my style, let's recap how this can apply to you when making your own style. Step 1, make an extensive list of every artist who has ever inspired you. Step 2, set your art style goals. For example, it could be a mood or emotion, even little words like colorful, anatomy, cartoony, whatever you want to focus on. Step 3, make a collage using these images from your favorite artists whilst thinking about your goals. Some tips to help you do this is think about how it would feel to draw like them. If you feel stressed just looking at their images, it's probably not the right style for you. So take a lot of time in this section to really define what it is you want your art style to look like, and remember that just because you don't put an artist into this silly collage, that doesn't mean you're never able to feel inspired by them or draw like them. This collage is just a visual guideline to give you some idea of what you want to work towards. Step 4, get drawing. This part can honestly be the trickiest because you're not going to achieve your goals right away, and I proved this point pretty clearly. I also wanted to end this video with an illustration that looked like my mood board, but honestly I don't think I got anywhere close in these past few weeks. That said, because of all these mistakes I've made, I've been able to take notes on all the things I liked, didn't like, and need to improve on. For example, this first speed paint I'm showing now, I had a fun time painting the 2 clown characters on the left and absolutely hated doing the line art for the other 2. I made note of this in my collage, but these drawings really helped me confirm it in my mind. I only want to paint digitally, and if I ink anything, I want to do that traditionally. It didn't help that I was using Procreate, which is not my program of choice. I typically work on either Clip Studio Paint or Heavy Paint, but I just ended my CSP subscription on my iPad because why am I paying a subscription when I already own the program? But anyways, I didn't want to pull out my bulky drawing tablet, so you get to watch me struggle with Procreate. My goal for these little illustrations was just to see what I could do after making the collage. I wasn't setting any expectations for myself that anything was going to change. I only wanted to play around with some more studies and see what clicked. On to step number 5, which is, you guessed it, another collage. At this point, I think it was my list-making OCD kicking in, but this ended up being the most helpful collage. I did one for different faces, noses, hairstyles, eyes, mouths, etc. Basically making a paper doll character sheet where I could pick a body, some hair, eyes, and put them all together to make my own style. You'll notice that I'm not using nearly as many sources at this point, and that's because after each list I make, it becomes more refined and focused. This time I used images from the mangas Monster, Dorohedoro, as well as Samurai Champloo and Midnight Children. There's some one-offs in here too from Satoshi Kon films and such, but they all for the most part look like they could share an anime together and wouldn't look too out of place. This time I decided to illustrate my faves, Jigen, Fujiko, Goemon, and Lupin from Lupin the Third. This is easily my favorite franchise of all time. I even wrote a 90-page fam comic, which is up on Webtoons and Tapas. I'm so glad it's not more popular because if it was, I would buy all the merchandise I ever came across. The best thing I've ever gotten is from this random drunk guy in Milan who was selling t-shirts he made. Unfortunately, the one I bought was too small to wear, but I still have it for the memories. Also, if you're a Lupin fan who is desperately looking for merch, I just opened a sticker shop, and the only thing currently for sale is some fan art that I made into stickers of Lupin and the gang, so please check it out at Firo.Comix.com or the link in the description below. Thank you very much. I thought my sketch of Lupin was practically perfect, but Fujiko was next to impossible for me to draw, and it might be in part because 90% of my collage is of men and masked women. I struggle drawing women, but I think it's mostly because there's not much reference for female faces that are interesting. For example, you can find illustrations of men with a million different face shapes, but women typically stick to a round or teardrop base, which I hate. If there's one goal I want with this art style, it is to eliminate the anime teardrop head. That said, I tried to draw Fujiko without it and she didn't look like herself, so I surrendered with this painterly version, but I will find a way to make Fujiko look like herself whilst in a completely different style. Now we can talk about the last step to achieving your dream art style, and that's step 5, make a practice plan. I think these drawings were the most enlightening because I ended up reverting to all of my old stylistic habits, but now I could really see which ones I wanted to break. I mentioned a lot earlier how I want my bodies to be believable. What I meant by that was I wanted them to have structure and form. So I made a note to study anatomy specifically in this style and figure out how to draw the human body accurately whilst still taking liberties with my own style. I also made a note to do more fan art and studies of the characters I love. I used to think that when I drew fan art, that was limiting me from my own imagination, but when I look back to my most impressive illustrations, they were all from COVID when that was all I did, draw fan art. Hair was another thing I made a note to practice, and lighting and clothing wrinkles, which seems like it boils down to I need to practice everything. And it does. But you only need to do one at a time, and doing one is better than doing none, so pick your top 3 and go from there. Mine would be form, lighting, and clothing. As much as I wish I could have ended this video with my completed style to show off, that still comes with time, and I don't think there's any way to speed up or hack the process. I also think doing this process too early as an artist is a bad idea because you're not exposed to enough art nor skilled enough to know which habits are good and bad. All a style really is habits. I think it's a good thing as a young artist to be interested in and replicate the styles of others, but be careful about settling too soon. That's when people start making excuses like, my style can't draw this pose, or that body type, or that skin color, and you don't want to end up thinking like that. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful even if I did ramble on for a while. I've been working on this video for way too long, and tomorrow is my final exam, so I need to stop this and study now. Thanks to everyone who made it this far, and check out my shop if you like Lupin the Third. There will be more Lupin content in the future, and I can guarantee that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to draw with you in the next one. Adios!